Quality of the audio. So just let us the quality of the audio. We see that Aliyu Kurman says no sound. Roland Dex says the sound is low. Also, Chief, we've worked on that. So once again, you're welcome. Diamond Slanger is my name. I'm here with Jurassic Joe. We on the grounds of the Temple of Justice. Just right behind me is the entrance leading to Criminal Court A, and that is the courtroom that is hearing the trial proceedings involving the former Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia, Councillor Gloria Musu Scot, Gertrude Newton, Rebecca Yuda Wisner, and Alice Johnson, all females who were within the premises of the former Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia on that fateful night of February the 22nd, 2023, where Chalo Musu, the late, lost her life. As to what happened that led to the death of Chalo Musu, the circumstances surrounding what occurred in her house is what is on trial within Criminal Court A at the Temple of Justice. What we can tell you is 20 witnesses were produced by the prosecution. The prosecution produced 20 witnesses in this ongoing trial. Remember, the defense has rested. So what is ongoing now? The prosecution again has brought Dr. Benedict Kilo, if I got the name right, Coley, Dr. Benedict Coley, who is a clinical pathologist, to serve as a rebuttal witness to what was given witness to by the pathologist. That's the forensic pathologist who was brought in by the defense, by extension, the families of Councillor Musu Scot and those who are currently co-defendants of hers in this ongoing trial. That is Dr. Matthew Okoye, who has got 42 years of experience in the field of forensic pathology. Well, what are the circumstances? What are the merits? Why are they producing these number of witnesses? Remember, this case has got not just national but international interest as well. This is somebody who served as the Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia, Justice Minister, as well as Senator of Maryland County. She's somebody who's revered all around the world. This is a landmark case in itself happening in the country. Chalo Musu, a young Liberian citizen, lost her life on the 22nd of February in the home of the former Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia. The former Chief Justice reported that an unknown and unidentified assailant or assailants had entered the premises of her house, entered her compound, and the intent might have been to harm her. Well, she reported the nation was alarmed. Everybody was concerned as to what happened, in sympathy with the Scot and Musu families. Well, the case took a turn when the former Chief Justice and the three other ladies who were within the home became suspects. From being victims to becoming suspects, they were then charged by the LNP. They were indicted by the grand jury of Monrovia County on 3 counts: murder, criminal conspiracy, and making false statements to law enforcement. The country again was divided as to if these charges were politically motivated or there was substantial evidence, facts, witnesses to back the state's accusation against this state woman and the 3 other co-defendants. Well, Vali Tele was mentioned reportedly by Councillor Jerome Verdier as the person who carried out the gruesome act. The police, questioning Valley Teller in the presence of Monrovia City Mayor Jefferson Koji, determined that apart from being a person of interest, they did not elevate his status to becoming a suspect. Rather, the former Chief Justice Gloria Musu Scott, Get you Newton, old lady Rebecca Uden Whistler, and Alice Johnson, their statuses were elevated from persons of interest to suspects. They were subsequently, as I said, indicted by the grand jury of Montserrado County. Hence, you have this case ongoing. As I said, the prosecution produced 20 witnesses. This is a criminal case, and it is prosecuted beyond all reasonable doubt. That is how a verdict is drawn. Beyond all reasonable doubt. Will the 12 jurors sitting, listening to the expert witnesses, to the witnesses, to the subpoenaed witnesses, come up and derive that, look, there is reasonable doubt? Remember, the defense team counsel is just to plant a seed of doubt in the head of one or more jurors. If there are jurors who think that they have doubts, then you have a hung jury. When you do have a hung jury, either on the charge of murder, remember there are 3 separate charges. So if the jury returns with a guilty verdict, unanimous guilty verdict on the count of murder, they could not have a unanimous decision on the count of providing false statements or conspiracy. So either way, the jury could come back with a verdict of not guilty on the count of murder, but on the count of making false statements to law enforcement, they could come up with a guilty verdict. They could come up with a not guilty verdict on all 3 counts, because they have reasonable doubt that if these 3 persons did not murder Chalo Musu, they did not have a reason to make false statements, and hence they did not have a reason to conspire. But that is far from happening as of now. This case is in the second term of court. The trial started on the 28th of August, and today, according to what we've gathered from our judicial sources, the Judge Roosevelt Willie has said this case is going to be concluded before Christmas. Looking at your calendar, today is the 18th of December. Christmas is just some 7 days away. Well, as I said, the defense has rested. As to when the prosecution will rest, we'll find out, as well as we give you details of what's emerging. But what is currently ongoing, the government's pathologist, the pathologist who did conduct the preliminary or the first autopsy on the remains of the late Chalo Musu, Dr. Benedict Coley, is being cross-examined by one of the defense lawyers in person of Councillor Jimmy Bombo. We'll be giving you all of what is unfolding. Well, Councillor Musu Scott did take the witness stands on the 14th of December. She said Chalo was a loved relative of theirs, very adored and loved by the families. As to why someone want to take her life from within the family, she cannot speak to that. That she and the co-defendants did not murder Chalo in the first place, and why would she do that? Rather, it is just something being done to drive the attention to her and her family, and that is motivated by an external source. Remember, when you produce witnesses in a criminal case, you want to first speak to character, as to the character of the individuals that are put on trial. Are they capable of doing so? You want to look at motive. What motive would have, caused them to harm or take the life of Chalo Musu? You also want to look at what resources they had available to them to carry that out. We have 2 conflicting reports so far. The private pathologist brought in by the defense counsel have said Chalo did not die from the stab wounds, rather blunt force trauma, as compared to Dr. Coley's report that said Chalo died from profusely losing blood from stab wounds inflicted on her body. The pathologist flown in, Dr. Okoye, who has got 42 years in forensic pathologist, said the object that inflicted the wounds onto the body of Chalo wasn't a knife, in contradiction to the government's clinical pathologist report that a knife was used in the process. Now, the defense also produced a veteran security expert in person of the former deputy NSA director, Colonel Nathaniel Hodge, who also has under his belt 40 years of law enforcement experience. When he took to the witness stands, he also debunked and pointed out flaws in the police report. He said that indeed In contrast to what the police report said, that the house only had one way to enter, he said there were other entryways into the home, and an intruder would have made use of the alternative entry into the home. He also said, in contrast to the police report, that the fence is usually fortified, that the back portion of the fence is shorter than the front portion, and the back portion of the fence has been neglected because it's usually used for garbage, and there are plum trees with leaning branches into the fence that someone could use to scale the fence and then hide at the back as well. So there's been the issue of contradictions, the issue of debunking, the issue of saying that, look, yes, you said this, but this could have happened. And all of what the defense strategy is to let the jury know that if this is possible, then there is doubt that these people carried out this act. And that is the strategy of the defense counsel, the defense team, is just to point out that, look, these are doubts that we're pointing out. We did not say Charlo didn't die, but we're saying that this didn't happen at the hands of these people. Look, our expert security witness has said there are multiple ways to enter or access this house. Our expert witness, who's a security practitioner over 40 years, has said that the fence, someone could have scaled and entered and hide in the back and go undetected. That our pathologist with over 42 years of experience, a forensic pathologist, has said that, look, there is the presence of a male DNA on the left hand of Charlo Musu the late, and this is a foreign DNA because there were only females in the house. So how come there is male DNA on her left hand as well? So this will support the narrative that there was an assailant, a male in the home. That, look, our expert pathologists have said that she didn't die from losing blood as stated by the government pathologist, rather from blunt force trauma by an object that is not determined to be a knife. So these are the different stack comparison and contrasting that is ongoing, and the jurors will have to look through all of that and come out with a verdict to say guilty or not guilty. To say guilty meaning they have no reasonable doubt whatsoever that the 4 persons on trial committed the act of murder, criminal conspiracy, and providing false statements to law enforcement. The prosecution also did present their witnesses, but let's go to subpoenaed witnesses. Subpoenaed witness 1, Monrovia City Mayor Jefferson Koji. To be a subpoenaed witness means you were compelled by the court through a subpoena to come and take the witness stands. In simple English, you didn't willingly come to court. You were forced by a court precept or a remedy from the court to come and provide evidence that you have information that is needed in the adjudication of this case. So the Monrovia City Mayor took to the witness stands. Valitele, who was a person or still remains a person of interest, took the witness stands. His wife also did take the witness stands, and she spoke to the issue of the telephone numbers. Remember, GSM companies Lone Star Cell and Orange were subpoenaed to provide the call log and the registration details of the number provided by Monrovia City Mayor Jefferson Koji, which later turned out to have been registered to a female's name. From the call log, this number was in constant communication with the number belonging to the wife of Valitele, one Mayamu Fofana. Mayamu Fofana said she at no point in time had ever spoken to the Monrovia City Mayor via the phone. Rather, her husband Valitele uses her phone on numerous occasions, especially at night, to make calls. Now, question number 1. Is it wrong for the Monrovia City Mayor to be in conversation with Valitele, who's an employee of the MCC? The answer to that is no. The next question is, what sort of relationship do they enjoy? That the Monrovia City Mayor's official number will be calling the number of Valitele's wife during the course of the night, especially at odd hours. Why? If they're that close and he takes instructions directly from the Monrovia City Mayor, that is another point of argument. Now, we leave that. We look at motive. Why would the councillor, Musu Scot, and the 3 others conspire to kill Charlo Musu? That is solely rested on the shoulders of the prosecution to come up with a narrative. We've heard so many other narratives coming up. There are narratives unofficial. Again, these are all outside of the court, that look, there might have been a scuffle involving the two young women, Chalo and Gertrude, and they might have gotten into a fight, and the fight it might have been unintentional, and she was stabbed and killed. Well, again, that is totally out of what records the courts have. The prosecution will have to present a narrative to also show motive, whether it was a crime of opportunity, whether it was a weapon of opportunity, whether it was premeditated. Murder is defined as, taking the life of someone intentionally, and then what do you do after taking the life of that person? If it was a mistake, you would have called law enforcement to say, look, there was a fight and someone stabbed the other, and we're trying to take that person to hospital, and the person died along the way. What did you do after this had occurred? Law enforcement said that the four co-defendants then decided to lie, to provide false statement. The conspiracy was before and after the act was committed. So this case is drawing down, with the witnesses taking the stance, with the examination and the cross-examination. It is also pointing to a lot of other things. Like, one, remember the defense counsel had asked the court, prayed court, that for the revisitation of the crime scene, for the crime scene to be reconstructed. That was denied. Now, this has also brought about the unsophisticated nature of how investigations are done in our country. If we're talking about DNA samples, how many DNA samples were taken out from the remains of Chalo Musu? How many DNA samples were taken from the crime scene to be matched against those who might have gained access? How do we protect crime scenes in our country if they're infiltrated by foreign elements? The moment something happens, the place is now barricaded, the crime scene is now protected. People have unlimited access to that place, thereby terminating or contaminating the crime scene as well. So this case has also brought to the limelight the lack of sophistication in our investigative methods in our country, how we don't protect crime scenes in our country, and how foreign DNAs, can make their way to crime scenes, and it makes it difficult. Do we even conduct forensic testing in our country? Though we do have a forensic department in our country, but do we conduct, extensive forensic investigation when things happen? So apart from the Chief Justice being on trial, the Liberia National Police Investigative Unit, the Forensic Department, all of that is also on trial indirectly doing this case. So let's see if we can go to our sources within the courtroom to see if there's anything further to update you on. Again, as I said, we've been reliably informed that the Judge Roosevelt Willie, has said that this case will come to a conclusion before the Christmas. Whether or not that will be the resting of arguments from both sides. Remember, the defense has rested their argument. They've argued their case. They've presented their witnesses. They've presented their pieces of evidence as well. The prosecution, as we speak, has got a rebuttal witness on the stands as to when the prosecution is going to rest, and the jury is going to retire to their jury room to go and come up with a verdict to make a determination whether these four co-defendants are guilty on all three counts, the guilty of one, the guilty of two, or they found not guilty on all three counts as well. So as to when the prosecution is going to rest, we will be finding out whether the prosecution is going to rest today or the prosecution is going to rest that case tomorrow for the jury to retire to go and come up with a verdict. Then we'll know where we stand in this particular case. But the former Chief Justice has maintained her innocence and the innocence of the three other co-defendants. They all have maintained their innocence, that this wasn't done by any of the three or any of the four. Rather, it was done by an intruder. Again, it is the burden of proof. It's on the prosecution in this case to prove beyond all reasonable doubt that those that they indicted using the grand jury of Monrovia County are indeed culpable and they've been found guilty. So folks, we want to see what more updates we'll get for you. My name is Diamond Slanger. I'm here with Jurassic Joe. We are bringing to you coverage of the ongoing case involving the former Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia, Councillor Gloria Musu Scot, and three other co-defendants. They've been charged, they've been indicted, they've been charged with the count of murder, criminal conspiracy, and providing false statements to law enforcement. We'll take you on an entire recap of this case, how it started, how it evolved, and where the case currently is. What we can tell you is the case is drawing, that's the argument portion of this case, is drawing down slowly. The fact that the defense team has rested, the fact that they've brought in all their witnesses, the fact that the defense can say, look, we've rested our case. It's now up to the prosecution to rest their case. It's now up to the prosecution to still want to prove that indeed these 4 individuals did commit the crimes for which they were charged. So we'll take you on a total recap of this case. So on the 22nd of February, 2023, the former Chief Justice said her daughter, who was on track to graduate from the Stars University College, Miss Chalomusu, was killed by an unknown assailant. Again, the country was in shock. She said she had reported that her home had been an attempt of burglary on 2 occasions, and those did not warrant any further actions. But the LNP said after she had reported what they did do, Moses Carter, the spokesperson of the Liberia National Police, said when the former Chief Justice had reported that her home on 2 occasions where there were attempted burglaries or burglaries at a home, and documents and stuff were taken away, they rather increased the presence of their patrol in the area. He didn't say that the LNP, looking at the status of the former Chief Justice, did send officers to beef up the security at her residence. Moses Carter is on record of speaking to the morning show on Spoon FM that they rather increase the frequency of the police patrol in the general area. Now, after that, there were speculations all around, speculations led by the chairman of the CDC, Moba Molu, the Secretary General of the CDC, Jefferson Tambakoji, and others, who said that Councillor Musu Scot knows more than what she's saying, and that she and her family should be the prime suspects. Well, I'm not an investigator, but from what I do know from following investigative programs all around the world, is that those who are within the immediate vicinity where a crime occurs, those people are the immediate persons of interest. They question, they do what is called the elimination method. They bring you, they question you, they ask for your alibi, they ask for your phone records, they ask for where you were, they do a determination whether or not you did have the time, the opportunity, and the capability to have committed the crime based on what investigative findings they did derive from questioning you. If you were not on the scene and when crime occurred, you will definitely be eliminated if your alibi is tight, if indeed they can prove that you were not part of what happened in any form, way, and manner. Well, again, the former Chief Justice, Councillor Gloria Musu Scot, enjoyed the sympathy of the Liberian people, or a portion of the Liberian people, based on her position. There were speculations that because she's one of the lawyers of the Unity Party, because she occupied positions of trust in this country, she had access to documents that were needed by the ruling establishment. In fact, all of these were just rumors. And then Councillor Jerome Verdier mentioned the name of Vali Tele. Vali Tele came to the limelight. It was proven fact that Vali Tele works for the MCC. Vali Tele and Mayor Koji were brought to the Monrovia, the headquarters of the Liberia National Police. They were investigated, interrogated by the LNP, the CSD division. They were subsequently not charged with anything. Their status wasn't elevated from persons of interest to suspects. They were let go of. After February, March, April, May, June. In June of this year, then the former Chief Justice and the 3 co-defendants were then arrested. They were invited to the headquarters of the Liberia National Police. In the presence of their lawyers, they arrived and they were detained. Their lawyers filed a writ of habeas corpus that they should be released, and that was granted by the Monrovia City Court. The very next day, she was released. She only enjoyed a day of freedom. The next day, the sheriffs from the Monrovia City Court did arrive at her residence arrested she and the 3 other co-defendants and brought them to the Monrovia City Court, where their charges were read against them. They were then taken to the Monrovia Central Prison. Their lawyers filed for a bond to be granted based on age, based on status, that the former Chief Justice wouldn't flee the country. She is a reputable citizen. She will avail herself, but that bond was denied. Rather, the case was sent to Criminal Court A, the court that has got legal jurisdiction over the crime of murder. Remember, the Monrovia City Court cannot prosecute murder. It's way above the jurisdiction of the Monrovia City Court. They were taken to Criminal Court A. Again, their charges were read before them. They pleaded not guilty. They were taken to the Monrovia Central Prison in June to await trial. The trial began on the 28th of August 2023. So if you do your maths, from August, September, October, November, December, that is 4 to 5 months. As to how long they've been languishing behind bars at the Monrovia Central Prison, you can backdate that from June, July, August, September, October, November, December. You can put that to 5 to 6 months. The judge have said that this case is going to come to a conclusion before the Christmas year in Liberia. As to what the verdict will be, that solely rests on the shoulders of the jury, and that will be read by the foreman of the jury. As to what the jurors are listening to, as the witnesses that are presented, pictures that have been painted by defense witnesses and state witnesses, as well as subpoena witnesses, they can come up with a determination beyond all reasonable doubt if these 4 suspects are indeed guilty on all charges, or not guilty on all charges, or guilty of one, guilty of 2, and not guilty of the other. But in the court of public opinion, verdicts have already been drawn. You know, the court of public opinion people have already taken sides. That is the reason all of the jurors in this case have been circumscribed. They've been taken to the basement of the Temple of Justice. They've been isolated. They have no contact with the outside world. They will remain there until this case comes to a logical conclusion. That is, when a verdict is given. If the verdict is in favor of the former Chief Justice, well, she might be walking free. She and the 3 other co-defendants might walk free based on the verdict. If the verdict is not in their favor, well, they can accept and then take an exception to the Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia. That is well within their legal rights. But all of that is still far from happening because we haven't reached a verdict from the Criminal Court A here on the grounds of the Temple of Justice. So I'm asking for more updates from the court. We have our team within Criminal Court A on the grounds of the Temple of Justice here. I'm asking for more updates. And once we get more updates, we'll be bringing you up to speed with what is happening. The key question here is guilty or not guilty. The answer to that can only come from the jurors selected to sit on this case. They're listening to arguments from the defense and the prosecution. And most of you who have legal knowledge know that the strategy of a defense team is always to plant seeds or trees of doubt in the minds of jurors. To say, look, if this was said to have happened, this could have happened as well. And here is reasons why this could have happened the other way. To say this was done by these 4 individuals is to also tell you that this house could have been entered from an alternative source. The compound wasn't secured as the state through the police report said it was. The security guards who were brought in were also subpoenaed. They appeared. They also made their statements on the witness stands. They were examined and cross-examined. So at the end of the day, as a defense lawyer, is to adapt a strategy that is going to point to your client having reasonable doubt as to whether or not he or she or they committed a certain act. Age is also going to play a factor. Health status is also going to play a factor if they were able enough to have done it, if they had the reach to have done it, and if so, motive. Why did they do it? How did it happen? And why and how it couldn't have happened. So many of these things, if not all of these things, are playing in Criminal Court A as we speak. Talking about examining and cross-examination, the pathologist who conducted the autopsy on the late Charlo Musu, Dr. Benedict Colley, is on the witness stand. He is rebutting what was said by the defense expert witness in Dr. Matthew Okoye, a veteran forensic pathologist flown in the country to conduct a separate and a private autopsy on the remains of the late Chalo Musu. He came out with his findings as well. So the state, through the lawyers, has said, look, we need to bring back our pathologist on the stand to debunk or to critique or to come up with why what was said by the defense pathologist was not or is not what actually it should be. So again, all of what is unfolding, the jurors in this case are sitting pretty tight, listening, taking down notes, and remember, reasonable doubt as defined by law, and I'm paraphrasing, a layman should be able to look and listen and say, look, based upon all of what has been said, all of the evidence produced, I don't think that this was done as it said it happened. To have a reasonable doubt means a layman should listen, take into consideration all of the evidence, all of the arguments, all of the questions and answers and everything, and come up to a conclusion and say, I don't think 100% that this is what it is. And that is the job of the prosecution, to allay all reasonable doubt. To come up. Remember, the state has got all of the resources at its disposal to bring a case to court and prosecute that case in an ironclad manner by having and providing all of the evidence. Security experts testified. The defense brought their security expert. Medical expert from the government's angle, Dr. Cooley, testified and defended his autopsy report. The defense also did bring in a pathologist to debunk and critique and conduct his own private autopsy. Another question that comes to mind is, with the sort of money needed to bring in a pathologist and experts from outside of the country or even from within the country, can ordinary Liberians who don't enjoy the same sort of financial support as the former Chief Justice and our fellow co-defendants do we have so many other innocent Liberians languishing behind bars because they couldn't provide or they couldn't afford to have the sort of expert witnesses, the sort of attention paid to their cases. As I said earlier, the CSD division of the Liberia National Police, the forensic division is also under investigation in this case. How sophisticated are our investigative techniques and methods in this country? How well do we protect crime scenes in our country? How infiltrated, tainted, contaminated are crime scenes in our country? And to what extent can we improve all of this so that Liberians who are accused, or when a crime is committed, there can be the proper processing as done in other countries? So again, we're waiting for more updates. I'll take a short breather as we try to get more updates from our team within Criminal Court A. And we will remain live when the defendants exit the court so that you get a picture of how they look like and how they've been escorted or taken back to the Monrovia Central Prison, or South Beach if you want to call it. And we do see movements, but we are waiting on what movements there are.
So we remain here until the case is closed and those that are in there can step out so that we can bring you footage. So we will get to our reporter that are in the courtroom to give us more update as to bring you the full coverage of what's happening here at Temple of Justice. So keep watching, keep following. We're going to bring you more update on what's happening in there at Criminal Court 8, where we have our reporters station to feed us in with more updates concerning the case of former Chief Justice, Councillor Gloria Scott.
All right, folks. I had to take a breather. I had to take a water break. Yeah, and we are still here on the grounds of the Temple of Justice, just looking directly at the main entrance into the building. It houses several courtrooms, including the offices of the Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia and one-time head of the Supreme Court, one-time head of the judiciary, the former Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia, Councillor Gloria Scott, one-time Senator of Maryland County as well, is on trial with three other co-defendants. They're on trial for murder, criminal conspiracy, and making false statements to law enforcement officers. We are still trying to get you more updates from the court, but today the prosecution did bring a rebuttal witness. The sole intent of bringing in Dr. Benedict Coley is to blow holes, if you want to use that, is to point out, misgivings, if you want to use that, is to point out inconsistencies within what was said by the defense expert witness, one of the expert witnesses produced by the defense in person of Dr. Matthew Okoye, 42-year veteran in the field of forensic pathology, was brought in. He conducted a separate autopsy on the remains of the late Chalo Musu. The defense also did bring in the former deputy of the National Security Agency, one Connor Hodge. Connor Hodge was brought in by the defense. That is, Connor Nathaniel Hodge was brought in by the defense again, with his expert knowledge, his extent of knowledge in law enforcement, to go through the police report that the fence was impregnable, it was impenetrable, it was well secured as well. He pointed out several vulnerabilities of the compound, as to the back of the compound, 5-foot low plum trees and other trees with branches leaning into the compound, the darkness of the back of the compound, that someone could go undetected, and other entries and flaws into the house that an assailant could have used to enter the house of the former Chief Justice. And again, we've been pointing this out and we'll continue to hammer this home, that this is a criminal case. It should be a verdict should be derived beyond reasonable doubt. That is the metric. That is where you should derive a verdict from, using whether or not there is a speck beyond reasonable doubt, 100% certain that, look, based on all of the evidence, the pieces of evidence provided, based on the arguments, based on everything that was said and done, the cross-examination, everything that was said, we can say as a jury unanimously that the entire jury, one person shouldn't be left out and say, oh, 11 agreed to the count of murder, guilty, and one person said not guilty. If that is the case, you have a hung jury and then you have retrial. So this is where it gets more crucial. The work of the prosecution is the mammoth task of proving beyond all reasonable doubt that those that they have indicted were the ones who did what they've been accused of. Based on that, this is evidence 1, this is witness 2, this is 3, this is witness 4, this is evidence 5, and the rest. The work of the defense is to say, look, yes, the prosecution have said this, this, and that, but we can also tell you that if this happened, we agree, but this could have happened. This is the reason our clients are not culpable. This is the reason they shouldn't be found guilty. This is the reason why you should find them not guilty. 1, their character. Yes, she served the Republic of Liberia as Chief Justice. She's old. Could she have done this? The prosecution could come up and say, yes, you could have served the Republic of Liberia as a Chief Justice. Doesn't mean you above murder. Doesn't mean you didn't conspire. And what is conspiracy? It could be before or after the fact. You can conspire before something is done. You can conspire after something is done. You can know that this was done, and you can conspire to sweep it under the carpet. So a lot of moving parts playing in our courtroom. But at the end of the day, what would the verdict be? Will the former Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia and the 3 other co-defendants be found guilty on account of murder, criminal conspiracy, and making false statements to law enforcement? That is why Spoon TV, we are here to bring you the concluding part of this trial. That is why we've gone through providing you as to what happened, what has been unfolding through the entirety of this trial. It's been 5 to 6 months since this trial began. If you backdate to when the incident occurred, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. It's been 10 months since the late Chalo Musu lost her life. Liberians are interested, not just Liberians, as I said. This story has taken on international wires, 1 or 2, 3 occasions. It's been made reference to. Liberians home and abroad are interested in what is happening. And women groups, civil society groups, ordinary Liberians are interested in what is happening in this country, especially when it comes to this trial. The name amongst all of the 4 names is that name, Gloria Musu Scot, counselor. She has still not been disbarred by the Liberian Bar Association. She has not been found guilty, even though she's legally capable of defending herself, she chose not to form part of her own defense. During the initial stages, during the bond hearing and all of that, she formed part of the defense team. But for the actual trial, she's taking a backbencher, she's on the bench, and she's sitting on the stance of the accused. That is where she's sitting. And until there can be a determination, she will remain there. They've been behind bars at the Monrovia Central Prison since June of this year. If you do your math, from June to July, August, September, October, November, December, that's 6 months. They've been behind bars. That's pre-trial detention or remand, if you want to put it that way, at the Monrovia Central Prison. All attempts by their lawyers to grant them bond or bail failed. They were denied, but they have the chance in that courtroom to prove their innocence. This is a very, very high profile case by all imagination, by all extent. This is a high profile case. We're talking about the judiciary trying its one-time boss, a member of the Supreme Court bar, the person who presided over all cases. The judge is being judged here as we speak. As to what the verdict will be, that is the question, and all eyes remain here. So it's almost 3 p.m. here. It's 4 minutes to 3 p.m. in Liberia. This case started around 12 p.m. Due to the opening of the civil law court. It was initially scheduled to begin at 10 a.m., but due to the opening of the civil law court, that was pushed back by 2 hours. So far, they spent 12, 1, 2, 3. They spent 3 hours in the courtroom. We're trying to get you more updates. Updates we're not getting so far. That is why we're here, not just to be giving you an overview or a commentary of what happened and what is happening, but to give you real-time information as to what is unfolding in Criminal Court A. This case is being presided over by George Roosevelt Willie of Criminal Court A. So let's just see if we can. Again, we are fishing for information. For some reason, they're not coming in, but we'll keep doing our best. That is one of the reasons we're here, to give you real-time information as to what is unfolding. Because we cannot take our camera into Criminal Court A, we have to remain outside and liaise with our team on the inside to provide you what is unfolding. So I keep asking. So I'll leave Jurassic in charge for a bit. Let me just go and see if I can get more information.
Okay, so thank you, Dharma, for that analysis. So we are here to bring you full information with no favor. We're going to bring you the exact information what's happening here and what have been going on concerning this case. And our reporters in there are giving you more updates. So Dharma asked for an excuse to see how best we can adjust to get more information from within the courtroom. So we are here, we remain here until the proceeding is over before we can say goodbye to you people. So Spoon FM, Spoon TV, we are here to bring you full information pertaining to this case. Okay, folks. So we are still on the grind of the Temple of Justice, and we are following religiously the case concerning Councilor former Chief Justice, that's Councilor Gloria Scott, and the others. We have given full analysis pertaining to this case, and the judge have informed us that this case will be closing before Christmas. So we hear, so right after this there will be another hearing, and then right after then, if it goes well, or if not, then we they will be telling us whether this case will be forward to the Supreme Court. But let us say we are waiting for more info from inside from our reporters that are within the courtroom as criminal court aid to give us to feed out more information pertaining to what's happening in there, because we are not inside, so we have reporters that are assigned inside to feed up with more information pertaining to what is going on there and how the proceeding is going on in there. So that might have an excuse and we'll be back to give more analysis as it comes to this case. So we are here to bring you full information with no favor and the exact information pertaining to what's happening on ground here at the Temple of Justice with the case of former Chief Justice, Councilor Gloria Scott. So we remain here. I'm Jerazi Joe, and I'm here with Damon Slanga. We remain here to bring you every information pertaining to the hearing today in criminal court A. So sticking still as we bring you more analysis, more information pertaining to this case.
मैं क्या around the dunia. It's so hard back around the dunia.
Okay, folks, we are stay here, and within a minute, Diamond will be joining us to give us more update on what is going on in there. Like I said previously, he took an excuse to go and get more information pertaining to what is happening within the courtroom because camera isn't allowed to enter the courtroom. So we are out here to so so we are out here to bring you this coverage to give more analysis. So I'm took an excuse to see how best you can get more information pertaining to what is happening within the courtroom and will be joining us anytime soon for now. So keep following, keep sharing as we bring you full coverage on what is happening on ground at the Temple of Justice, returning to consider Gloria, Mrs. Scot, and three others that are in their own trial purpose. So he's gonna give us analysis on what have been decided upon by the jury in there. So he will be coming here within a couple of minutes. He will be joining us to give a more analysis pertaining to what is happening in there. So keep following us as we bring you more analysis pertaining to what is happening here at Criminal Court A. so we will be rejoined at shortly. It's already here. So
All right, folks. So, uh, sorry for me being off, but Jerasi was doing a wonderful job. Uh, we're still here on the grounds of the Temple of Justice. The reason for my absence, I know, but I need to tell you, I was in conversation with um, a team of lawyers, different lawyers from different backgrounds, as well as reporters who've been covering this case from the onset to get better in-depth knowledge as to how this process has been unfolding since its inception year, how the trial has been ongoing there in Criminal Court A, and I've brought that information to share with you as well. So Dr. Matthew Okoye, the defense pathologist, the expert pathologist who was brought in by the defense team representing the former Chief Justice Counsel of Gloria, Scot, and the three other co-defendants, is not just a forensic pathologist, but he's also a lawyer. So he doubles up his forensic pathology, career with being a lawyer as well. So when he took the witness stands, he testified via Zoom. He wasn't here in person to give his expert testimony. Rather, the court listened to his testimony via Zoom. But he and his team, they were in Liberia to conduct the autopsy report. According to his portfolio, he also worked with the inventor of the DNA test as well. So when they went to St. Moses, being told by journalists who covered and lawyers who were present, he requested the remains of the late Chalo Musu. In fact, that was made available at the St. Moses funeral parlor. And then he recognized that the kidney and other delicate parts of the inside were not present. He questioned why those parts were taken away. And he was told by the government's pathologist, Dr. Benedict Cooley, that he used them for testing, and after he had done his testing, he didn't put them back in the remains of the late Chalo Musu. Rather, he packaged them in a plastic bag, and they were handed over to the owner of the St. Moses funeral parlor. Well, according to what I was told by lawyers and journalists on the scene, Dr. Okoye said he couldn't use those parts that were extracted and taken to be kept separately because, in his words, they were contaminated or tampered with, so that couldn't be used. So that's just from what happened at the St. Moses funeral parlor. Also, a part of the expert witnesses, the IGP, the Inspector General of Police, Colonel Patrick Sulu, he himself was summoned by the court to testify based on the request that the former Chief Justice had made to the police when her home was burglarized on 2 occasions. The IGP, Colonel Patrick Sulu, did admit that the former Chief Justice wrote them on 2 occasions, stating that her home was burglarized, and he was asked the question, what did the police do? Taking into consideration, she's not just any ordinary Liberian. Like each and every Liberian is entitled to the preservation of their lives and their properties. But this is a state person. This is a state woman. This is somebody who served as Justice Minister, Attorney General of the Republic of Liberia, Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia, one-time Senator of Maryland County, a prominent citizen for that matter on all counts. What did the police do when she made the request, when she complained that her home was on 2 occasions burglarized? According to the IGP, when that was received, the police sent a team to go and investigate. And when the team arrived on the scene, the areas for which the former Chief Justice had said was used as the entry into her home, she had reinforced, those areas. And based on that, the police did not do anything further. According to the IGP, when he was asked why they didn't provide her with state security to protect her until the threat dissipated, or until there wasn't any threat to her life or property or persons within her compound, the IGP said they advised the former Chief Justice to hire private security guards. So that again raises a lot of questions. Like, what would that have taken away from the state or the police, to have provided armed police officers told the former Chief Justice when she had reported on 2 occasions that her home was burglarized. Taking into consideration the position for which she occupied, including being Chief Justice, she might have, rendered verdict. The Supreme Court, under her watch, might have rendered verdicts against individuals powerful or even less powerful, and that could have put her in a position of threat. Why didn't the police take into consideration her status in society and provide her with security? The IGP couldn't answer that question. He rather said they had advised her to provide private security. Well, that is away from what happened. So again, the jurors are listening to the rebuttal being made by the government's pathologist, Dr. Benedict Cooley. Several police officers were brought in to testify, as well as the security guards who were from the Genesis Security Agency, who were employed to provide security to the home of the former Chief Justice. The Monrovia City Mayor, Jefferson Tamakoji, was also subpoenaed, including Vali Tele and Vali Tele's wife, to speak to the communication between the mayor's number and that of the number belonging to the wife of Vali Tele. The registration of that number, the registration document subpoenaed from the GSM company, Orange, shows that the mayor's official number he provided to the court is actually registered in a female's name. That is beside the fact. The fact here is, on the 22nd of February 2023, Chalo Musu, a young, vibrant, energetic, lively Liberian female who was poised to have graduated from the Stars University College, was cut down in her prime. She was killed. That is a fact. The question is, who killed Chalo Musu? One of the four on trial, 4 of the 4, 2 of the 4, or none of the 4. The question is, who killed Chalo Musu? There is no argument that she wasn't killed. It is a fact established. Chalo didn't commit suicide. She didn't take away her own life. According to Dr. Okoye's report, the trajectory, the height, of where she was stabbed, what was used, according to him, could have been an iron bar, as compared to what Dr. Cooley said, that a knife was used. Again, he said the strength, the sort of strength used, the pressure and strength that was used, none of the defendants possessed such a strength that could have been done by a male. He also said on her left hand, he discovered the DNA of a male present. Again, as we said, the crime scene was terminated. It was contaminated. Chalo was handled by others, including neighbors who were taking her to the hospital. So the defense could have argued that, look, she was not only handled by the females in the house, there were others who were handling her to get her to the nearest hospital to seek medical attention, hence the presence of the male DNA. Again, this is about proving beyond all reasonable doubt to 12 jurors that indeed those who were indicted by the grand jury of Montserrado County, including Councillor Gloria Musu Scot, Gertrude Newton, Rebecca Yuda Wisner, and Alice Johnson, indeed are guilty of all of the charges against them. That is murder, criminal conspiracy, and providing false statements to law enforcement officers. So we'll keep our eyes peeled just behind. It's almost 3:30, and we'll see when this hearing today's is going to come to an end. We're waiting. This case has been ongoing for 5 months. On the 16th of November, the former Chief Justice, Councillor Gloria Musu Scot, herself took to the witness stand. She was asked about the relationship between she and the late Chalo Musu. She said Chalo was a beloved and cherished child of the family. There was no reason for anybody within the family, any of those 4 persons who were inside of the house, to have killed Chalo. And in fact, it was done by somebody external, and all of this is being done to malign her character and the character of those involved in this case. Remember, this is not a separate trial. All 4 of them are standing trial as a unit. If you want to call it a class action, you can do that. They now stand in trial separately. So if a verdict is rendered, the verdict cuts across the four co-defendants. If there is a guilty verdict on count of murder, it affects all four of them. If it is a guilty verdict on the count of criminal conspiracy to commit murder, it cuts across the four of them. If it is a guilty verdict on the count of providing false statements to law enforcement, it cuts across the four of them. If it is a not guilty verdict on the charge of murder, it cuts across the four. Similarly, criminal conspiracy and providing false statements to law enforcement officer. So we're just bringing you up to speed, and we'll keep doing that. They're still there. Again, as I was informed by lawyers and journalists covering the case, the judge on this trial, this is not a bench trial. This is a jury trial. But the judge will be seated to listen to the arguments from both sides to make sure that he has his courtroom in order, to grant objections or not to grant objections, and the rest of what a judge does during a jury trial. The jurors will have the opportunity to ask questions to witnesses, whether expert, subpoenaed, or prosecution witnesses. The jury will have the opportunity to ask questions as well. At the end of the day, these 12 jurors, led by their foreman, is going to come up with their verdict, and that verdict will be read to the open court, and the judge is the one who does the sentencing. So we are awaiting to see what is going to happen. An appeal is still available to the defendants. If they found guilty, they can take an appeal to the Supreme Court of Liberia. But we don't want to put the cart before the horse. We don't want to, we don't want to jump one step above. But we're just telling you that irrespective of what verdict, if the verdict goes against the defendants, they can take, an appeal to the Supreme Court of Liberia. It is on the shoulders of the state to prosecute this case beyond all reasonable doubt. The state, again, as I said, has got available all of the resources. The state has got all of the necessary resources to take a case to court and prosecute that case beyond all reasonable doubt. But does it mean the state is infallible? No. Does it mean that the state cannot be proven wrong? No. That is why each person, every person, is provided for the right to their defense. That is the reason Councillor Gloria Musu Scot, Gertrude Newton, Old Lady Rebecca Yuda Whistler, and Alice Johnson have got their legal teams. So we're waiting. That was just updates. We're waiting to see if we can get more coming from the court, from within the courtroom. But the defense has rested their arguments. So meaning the defense are not going to produce any witnesses. They're not going to argue. All they can do now is to cross-examine whatever witnesses and whatever statements will be made by the state rebuttal witnesses. It depends how many rebuttal witnesses the state is going to produce. So the state has produced one rebuttal witness to counter or to, kind of by extension, debunk the report that was provided by Dr. Matthew Okoye, a forensic pathologist that was brought in by the defense team. So that rebuttal is ongoing. He's being cross-examined, he's been told, by the defense team. Provided as to how many rebuttal witnesses the state will provide. Remember, the judge has said this case is not going to enter the new year. The argumentative part of this case, the argument part, the going to trial and arguing and all of these things, is not going to enter the new year. As to how long it's going to take the jury to come up with a verdict, that could be another issue. They don't have, any sort of time frame to say, okay, the jury will have to retire and go come up with a verdict in a day or two. The jury will have to sit and deliberate. They have a jury deliberation period. They'll go and sit. They will deliberate. They will discuss the merits of the case in terms of witnesses that were produced, whether or not the pieces of evidence provided points to the fact that these four co-defendants are guilty beyond all reasonable doubt on all charges, or whether or not after their deliberation, there are doubts, reasonable doubts expressed by one juror or more jurors, then the jury is going to deliberate more. It can come up with a unanimous decision on the counts or the charges, then the juror or the foreman of the jury is going to tell the judge that they have an obligation. So again, this part of the case, the trial part of the case, the argument part of the case, the hearing part of the case, where witnesses were declared importance. We're having problem on the audio. All right, so we want to check the sound. All right, so please let us know the quality of the audio. We seem to have lost the audio quality, but let's see if we can also be cross-checking here. So just comment and let us know the quality of the audio by just leaving a comment and let us know if the audio is better now. All right, so just leave a comment and let us know the quality of the audio. Please do that for us, our producer. So our producer is going to give thumbs up based on your comments, and once they're in the affirmative that the audio quality is good, we will continue from there. All right, so once he gives me the thumbs up, we will continue from there. But we're reading your comments as well. He's reading your comments, and we also listening. All right, so the thumbs up given that the audio quality is good. So there was an incident that brought about serious speculations, and it was addressed by the judiciary. The Solicitor General of the Republic of Liberia, Councillor Nyanti Twan, after the jurors were selected, before the case, hearing began and all of these arguments began, did visit the jury. He did visit the jurors off hours, without the presence of the defense team. He came independently on a solo mission, and that raised serious concern. Well, according to the Solicitor General at the time, he only came to speak to the security officers and also to caution the jurors, not to be partial in any way, not to listen to any of the public perception about the case and all of these things. But that raised a concern that why would the Solicitor General, after jurors have been selected, pay them a visit without the presence of the defense team to authenticate and to verify his presence there? He was fined by the court, and that raised the question of whether or not the jurors have been tampered with. That was handled because a conference was called by the court. The defense and the prosecution did attend that conference. The SG was fined for that act. But remember, that is a record taken, because in the court of public opinion, there are others who are already speculating that those who were selected for jury duty, those who were selected as jurors on this case, they've already been paid and all of that, but those are unsubstantiated, they're not proven. But the fact that the SG, the Solicitor General, who's also a party to this case, he's also one of the lawyers, he's the government's lead lawyer in terms of prosecution, visited the jury at an odd hour, that put a dent. But so far, we've seen the case proceed, and whether or not the defense, if this verdict does not go in their favor, can reference that particular scene, that particular incident, as a reason to question the independence and the impartiality of the jurors, that is yet to be seen. So we want to keep trying to see if we can bring you updates from within the court. We are not getting any more updates as of now, so we'll just remain live. It's almost 4 p.m. here on the grounds of the Temple of Justice. The prosecution has brought a rebuttal witness in the person of the pathologist, Dr. Benedict Coley. He conducted the first autopsy on the remains of the late Charlo Musu, and based on his autopsy report, the government did release the preliminary autopsy report conducted on the remains of the late Charlo Musu, and he's currently in criminal court A. We cannot be allowed to enter the court, so we are going to keep bringing you updates from outside the court. We've done a recap on how did we get here, why are we here, and what's happening. inside of the court and what's been happening outside of the courtroom. There is always going to be the court of public opinion where there will be different verdicts from different individuals based on how they've deduced their thinking about this particular case. But in the courtroom, it's all about hardcore facts and evidence. It's not about speculations. It's not about circumstantial evidence. It's about substantive evidence. If you want to prosecute a case based on circumstantial evidence, then you have to provide a chain of circumstantial pieces of evidence to back why you think this might have happened. But in a court of competent jurisdiction, in a court of law, it's about substantive evidence. It's about corroborating witnesses, and it's about providing and proving beyond reasonable doubt, especially in a criminal case, that those indeed who are put on trial, those who are put on a defendant's bench, they are indeed culpable for whatever offenses they've been charged with. Fact number 1, February 22nd, 2023, in the home of the former Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia, Chalo Musu met her demise. Who killed Chalo Musu? That is the question. Fact number 2, the former Chief Justice and 3 other co-defendants were subsequently charged and indicted by the grand jury of Monrovia County on the charges of murder, criminal conspiracy, and providing false statements to law enforcement. They were then arrested, bail denied by the Monrovia City Court, subsequently upheld by the Criminal Court A, and a trial date was set on the 28th of August, fact number 3, 2023, after at least 2 months behind bars on pre-trial detention at the Monrovia Central Prison. The trial of the former Chief Justice and the 3 other co-defendants began here at Criminal Court A. It's been 5 months and counting. There's still the argument of did she not, did they, what happened? At the end of the day, the pivotal question that all of what is happening in that courtroom is pointed to answer is who killed Chalo Musu? Sounds like the Nigerian movies of the early 90s or late 90s, Who Killed Nancy, if you were around to have remembered that particular film. But this one is not about a fiction character or anything fictional. This is about a real life experience, real life situation that has got the former head of the judiciary in this country currently on the defendant's bench facing the charges of murder, criminal conspiracy, and providing false statements to law enforcement officer. Whether or not the state is going to win the very high-profile case relies on the state lawyers and the witnesses and evidence they produce to convince the 12-man jury that indeed they got the right people. And whether or not their clients are going to walk scot-free rests solely on the shoulders of the defense team, their expert witnesses, and they're able to plant a seed of doubt or proof that yes, there is reasonable doubt that points to another person and not these 4 individuals on trial. What the motive is, motive must be proven in court. What the evidence are that points to the motive that was carried out and the action to back the motive must be proven in court. And again, the jurors are all laymen. So as lawyers and experts, you must convince 12 laymen that indeed it's either beyond or there is reasonable doubt during the course of this trial. So I step back a bit. We'll just be showing you around as we're trying to get more and more information. But we will remain live here. We want to show you the exiting of the defendants as they leave the court. Today we are not really getting updates as we anticipated, but we'll continue to provide you commentary on this entire case. So we are still live. We will remain live. So Libra like any paper time here, bro. Yeah. So let me just answer that one quick. In that part of the judicial coverage, like any paper time. Yeah. So yeah, I spray the air, but any paper around and it's dust all around. So yeah, forgive me for that. But we do our best to always, look kept and upkept. Yeah. So that any paper time. Let me just tell you that one. Yeah. So we leave it and we try to get more updates. Yeah. All right. So how long they will remain in the courtroom is not the issue under question here, because as long as the witness needs to be on the stand, he will be. As long as the cross-examination is ongoing, it will go on until the both teams of lawyers, including the jurors, if they've got any questions to ask, will ask, and then the witness will be let off the witness stand. So we are remaining live here. We want to bring you footage of the former Chief Justice and the three other co-defendants as they exit criminal court A. So keep tuned, keep listening, keep watching. Keep listening, keep watching. Spoon TV Live. My name is Diamond Slanger. I'm here with Jurassic Joe. There are other cases ongoing here on the grounds of the Temple of Justice. But the biggest of all so far is that of the case involving the former Chief Justice, Councillor Gloria Scot, and three other co-defendants in this case. So we want to remain live as we are striving to get you more updates from within the courtroom, updates that are far and few in between. But there's only one rebuttal witness so far produced by the prosecution, that is the pathologist who did conduct the autopsy report on the initial or the first autopsy report on the remains of the late Charles Musu. That is Dr. Benedict Coley. He is the one the prosecution has brought in as a rebuttal witness, So we do see movements, but that could be from other cases ongoing. Once the cross-examination is over, once the case is adjourned to another date, either tomorrow or whatever day, you'll see the correction facility bus will compound of the Temple of Justice, but not far from the headquarters of the Liberia National Police. Whether or not that exit or entry will be used, we cannot say. But as we know, the process is still ongoing there in Criminal Court A, and the clinical pathologist, Dr. Benedict Coley, is still on the witness stand, and he is giving a rebuttal. He's critiquing. He's giving reasons as to why the autopsy report provided by the defense own forensic pathologist should not be, credible, should not be taken credible, should not be given any sort of credit. So there is the issue of experience playing here. The defense pathologist is a forensic pathologist, 42 years in the field. Yes, doesn't mean he or he cannot make errors or his report cannot be discredited. The state's pathologist has got just 5 years, I've been told. Let me get the actual number of years correct. So the state's pathologist, in person of Dr. Benedict Coley, yes, has got 5 years under his belt. Doesn't mean those 5 years he cannot critique, a report done by a veteran of 42 years. That's not what I'm saying. We're just saying the gap of the experience and, to what mammoth tax the state has got to discredit the report done by the defense own private pathologist. He did come with a very, very, very extensive portfolio, including being a lawyer as well as a as well as a forensic pathologist. He did list the number of high-profile cases he has testified expertly to around the world, in the UK, in the US, in Nigeria, and other parts of the world. So if you look at the experience gap, it's very vast, but still does not mean that someone of 5 years experience cannot critique or cannot give a rebuttal on someone of 42 years of experience, report done so far. So again, the lawyers representing the defense are cross-examining what rebuttal was made by the state's pathologist. So we've been informed that he's still on the witness stand and he's being cross-examined by Councillor Jimmy Mbombo. So we will keep waiting as we try to get more information for you live here on the grounds of the Temple of Justice. My name is Diamond Slanger. Jurassic Joe is also producing for us here. This is our resumption of the coverage of the case involving the former Chief Justice, Councillor Gloria Scot, and three other defendants. They in court, we've been told they're wearing their corrections vest, navy blue. That's why we want to remain live as they exit the building so that you too can catch a glimpse of the former Chief Justice and the three other co-defendants that have been charged with the crimes of murder, criminal conspiracy, and providing false statements to law enforcement. Why would someone provide false statement to law enforcement? That is to throw them off their investigation. That is to send them in another direction. That is to take away any speck of doubt or guilt that you might exhibit. That is what the state has said, that they provided false statements to law enforcement during the course of their investigation. The state is also saying in its indictment, in its charges, that the four persons conspired before and after the fact to kill the late Chalo Musu. That is what the state has said in its indictment of the four, that they did conspire. And the biggest of all of the charges is the heaviest.
Very good.
The highest of all of the charges is so we did